This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. The US State Department Spokesperson Matthew Miller commented on the normalization negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan during a press briefing yesterday, emphasizing that the deal was never tied to the upcoming COP29 conference. "We wanted to see a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan months ago, and have been pushing for one," Miller said. However, he added, "that's up to the two parties, not the United States." Baku is set to host COP29, a United Nations climate summit, this November. Numerous human rights groups and politicians, including Human Rights Watch, have criticized Azerbaijan's hosting of the summit because 23 Armenian prisoners remain in Azerbaijani prisons, alongside hundreds of domestic political prisoners and critics of President Ilham Aliyev. The United States has hosted several meetings between Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan and his Azerbaijani counterpart, Ceyhun Bayramov, most recently on the sidelines of this year's United Nations General Assembly in September. During the meeting, moderated by the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Mirzoyan and Bayramov pledged to continue working toward a normalization deal. Swiss lawmakers approved a resolution to organize an international peace conference focused on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict yesterday, following the endorsement of this initiative by the Foreign Relations Committee of the country's parliament. The International Peace Conference can make a decisive contribution to the settlement of the conflict, enable the return of displaced persons, and thereby contribute to the stabilization of the entire region, the resolution said, stressing that it's in Switzerland's economic interest to establish sustainable peace in the South Caucasus, should the resolution be accepted by the lower house. It will also be discussed in the upper chamber of the Swiss parliament. The projected conference will aim to negotiate a safe return of Armenians to Nagorno-Karabakh. In the resolution, the Swiss lawmakers also mentioned the ruling of the International Court of Justice, issued last November, which obliged Baku to allow the refugees to return to Nagorno-Karabakh as soon as possible. Switzerland has successfully acted as a neutral mediator in international conflicts several times in the past, the resolution said, referring to the recent peace conference on Ukraine and Switzerland's mediation of normalization talks between Armenian President Serge Sargsyan and his Turkish counterpart Abdullah Gül in 2009. This process, also known as football diplomacy, culminated in the signing of the so-called Zurich Protocols, two rapprochement agreements that never yielded any practical results, as they failed to be ratified in both Armenian and Turkish parliaments. Azerbaijan launched a one-day offensive against Nagorno-Karabakh last September, securing full control of the region and ethnically cleansing all of the region's residents, forcing them to seek refuge in Armenia. The Russian peacekeepers, who were deployed to the region 3 years before, did not intervene. You can also watch our interview with renowned investor and futurist Stephen Ibaraki, who shared his unique perspective on the World Congress on Information Technology held in Armenia recently, offering a deep dive into its impact on the country's burgeoning tech ecosystem. You can watch the full interview on our YouTube channel or by following the link in the video description below. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.